Hi students. I hope everybody in a good health. Today we will continue our class with a new topic. Today topic will let you explore and know very well about computer hardware. But, as usual before we continue we will recap the previous topic and take a look on today topic overview and also the topic objectives. The purpose is to refresh the previous topic and to have the clear view of today topic. In previous topic we have discussed about the animation. Animation is defined as the act of making something alive. Furthermore, animation is a series of images are rapidly changed to create an illusion movement. There are 2D animation space, 2.5D animation space, and 3D animation space. The simplest animations occur in 2D space. More complicated animations occur in an intermediate, means 2.5D space, where shadowing, highlights, and forced perspective provide an illusion of depth. And the most realistic animations occur in 3D space. There are two types of animation techniques. We have cell animation and computer animation. Cell animation artwork begins with keyframes, which means the first and last frame of an action. Computer animation programs typically employ the same logic and procedural concepts as cell animation and use the vocabulary of classic cell animation terms such as layer, keyframe, and tweening. Next, in previous topic also talked on animation production process. Before you start to create an animation, you should organize its execution into series of logical steps. First, gather up in your mind all the activities you wish to provide in the animation. If it is complicated, you should create a written script with list of activities and required objects and then create a storyboard to visualize the animation. Choose the animation tool best suited for the job, and build and tweak your sequences. This may include creating objects, planning their movements, texturing their surfaces, adding lights, experimenting with lighting effects, and positioning the camera or point of view. Allow plenty of time for this phase when you are experimenting and testing. Finally, post-process your animation, doing any special renderings and adding sound effects. Next, we also have learned about kinematics. Kinematics is the study of the movement and motion of structures that have joints, such as a walking man. Animating a walking step is tricky. You need to calculate the position, rotation, velocity, and acceleration of all the joints and articulated parts involved such as knees bend, hips flex, shoulders swing, and the head bobs. Other than kinematics, we also have inverse kinematics. Inverse kinematics is the process by which you link objects such as hands to arms and define their relationships and limits. For example, elbows cannot bend backward. Once those relationships and parameters have been set, you can then drag these parts around and let the computer calculate the result. Inverse kinematics normally available in high-end 3D programs such as Lightwave and Maya software. Next, we also have Morphing Tool. Morphing is a popular feature in which one image transforms into another, but please do not overuse the feature. Morphing tools and other modeling tools that offer this feature can transition not only between still images but often between moving images as well. Then, we have discussed on the animation file formats. Some file formats are designed specifically to contain animations, so they can be ported among applications and platforms with the proper translators. Those formats include Director, which the file format is .dir and .dcr, Animator Pro where the file format is .fli and .flc. 3D Studio Max where the file format is .max and other file format as you can refer in the previous slide. The final point is about the animation authoring software. In previous slide have presented the offline animation software such as Adobe Animate, 3D Max Studio and the online animation software example are Doodly.com or Animaker.com. I hope you be able to refresh the topic and memorized all the important point highlighted during this recap. Okay, now is the time for us to take a look on the today topic overview. The discussion will start with comparison of Macintosh and Windows computer. Then, we will discuss on networking between Macintosh and Windows. Furthermore, we will discuss on the computer hardware and related devices. Now, we look into our topic objectives in order to ensure our discussion is on the track. According to the listed objectives, our discussion will start with comparison to the most computer platform used in multimedia. Then, the discussion continue with next subtopic, which is understand how the computer network work. Later, we will discuss on the input and output devices, also the communication devices. Hope you can focus to my lecture and stay with me until the end of the lecture. Now, shall we start? The basic principles for creating and editing multimedia elements are the same for all platforms. A graphic image is still a graphic image, and a digitized sound is still a digitized sound, regardless of the methods or tools used to make and display it or to play it back. Indeed, many software tools readily convert picture, sound, and other multimedia files and even whole functioning projects from Macintosh to Windows format, and vice versa. Using known file formats or even binary compatible files that require no conversation at all. While there is a lot of talk about platform-independent delivery of multimedia on Internet, with every new version of a browser there are still annoying failures on both platforms. These failures in cross-platform compatibility can consume great amounts of time as you prepare for delivery by testing and developing workarounds and tweaks. So your project performs properly in various target environments. Selection of the proper platform for developing your multimedia project may be based on your personal preference of computer, your budget constraints, project delivery requirements, and the type of material and content in the project. Many developers believe that multimedia project development is smoother and easier on the Macintosh than in Windows. Even though projects destined to run in Windows must then be ported or tested across platforms. Okay. This slide presents a comparison between Macintosh and Windows. But, one thing you must take note is about Windows computer. A Windows computer is not a computer per se, but, rather a collection of parts that are tied together by the requirements of the Windows operating system. Power supplies, processors, hard disks, CD-ROM and DVD players and burners, video and audio components, displays, keyboards, mice, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth transceivers. It doesn't matter where they come from or who makes them. Made in Texas, Taiwan, China, Indonesia, or Malaysia by widely known or little-known manufacturers, these components are assembled and branded by Dell, HP, Sony, Acer and others into computers that run Windows. Unlike Microsoft, primarily software company, Apple as hardware manufacturing company developed its own proprietary software to run the hardware. According to the record, Apple was launched Macintosh operating system in 1984. At first launching, the Apple computers was totally developed by Apple, included the hardware and software. In 2006, Apple adopted Intel's processor architecture, an engineering decision that allows Macintoshes to run natively with any x86 operating system, same as Windows. All recent models of Macintosh come with the latest Mac operating system, and by using Boot Camp or Parallels software, Macs can also run the Windows operating system. That is a basic difference between Mac and Windows computer. Now we will discuss on networking Mac and Windows computers. If you are working in a multimedia development environment consisting of mixture of Macintosh and Windows computers, you will want them to communicate with each other. You will also wish to share other resources among them, such as printers. Local area networks, LANs, and wide area networks, WANs, can connect the members of a workgroup. In LAN, workstations are usually located within a short distance of one another, on the same floor of a building, for example. While WANs are communication systems spanning greater distances, typically set up and managed by large corporations and institutions for their own use, or to share with other users. LANs allow direct communication and sharing of peripheral resources such as file servers, printers, scanners, and network routers. They use a variety of proprietary technologies, most commonly Ethernet, to perform the connections either by twisted pair copper wires or wirelessly using Wi-Fi. If you are operating a cross-platform multimedia development shop, you should install a local Ethernet system so that your PCs and Macs can communicate each other and to your network printer as well. This is many times more efficient than carrying removable media among your machines in a sneaker network. Next, I want to show you a figure regarding LAN, MAN, and WAN connection. In brief, a network is a cluster of computers, with one computer acting as a server to provide network services such as file transfer, email and document printing to the client computers or users of that network. Using gateways and routers, a local area network can be connected to other LANs to form a wide area network. These LANs and WANs can also be connected to the Internet through a server that provides both the necessary software for the Internet and the physical data connection. Ethernet is only a method for wiring up computers, so you still will need client or server software to enable the computers to speak with each other and pass files back and forth. The Windows and Mac operating systems provide this networking software, but you may need expert help to set it up. However, it can be complicated. In different cases, if you are in a large business or part of government, your WAN is likely the Internet connected to you by an Internet Service Provider, ISP. The Internet is worldwide and connects tens of millions of computers and other devices. Furthermore, if you are working with people in various time zones, all can communicate and share information with other locations at any time of day or night using the Internet network. In addition, network card is compulsory to be installed in the computer, either Mac or Windows, in order to connect with the network or Internet. This slide shows the illustration of network connection within several devices. In the figure we have the client's devices and server were connected between each other in the range of LAN's network. The LAN's network also can be connected to the router in order to connect with other LAN networks. Then when the network connection is connected with several LAN networks at a different and wide geography area, it can be called as WAN's network, or also can be considered as an Internet network. Now, we want to discuss on the connection. Connection here means things that you will use to connect other devices with your computer. The equipment required for developing your multimedia project will depend on the content of the project as well as its design. You will certainly need as fast a computer as you can lay your hand on, with lots of RAM and storage space. Here we will learn several types of connection. First, we will talk on Small Computer System Interface, Scuzzy, where the pronunciation is Scuzzy. Scuzzy is additional peripheral equipment such as disk drives, scanners, CD-ROM players, and other peripheral devices that conform to the Scuzzy standard. Scuzzy connections may connect internal devices, such as hard drives that are inside the chassis of your computer and use the computer's power supply, and external devices, which are outside the chassis, use their own power supply, and are plugged into the computer by cable. The hardware and the drivers for Scuzzy have improved over the years to provide faster data transfers across wider buses. Unlike less expensive IDE scheme, Scuzzy controller does not demand CPU time, and because it can support many devices, it is often preferred for real-time video editing, network servers, and situations in which writing simultaneously to 2 or more disks is required. Here, I will mention several types of Scuzzy. You need to write down your own note. First, Scuzzy 2, which also known as Fast Scuzzy, where the transfer rate is 80 MB per second. Second is Scuzzy, also known as Wide Scuzzy, and the transfer rate is 160 MB per second. Third is Ultra 2 Scuzzy, where the transfer rate is 320 MB per second. Fourth is Scuzzy Wide Ultra 2 where the transfer rate is 640 MB per second. Fifth is Scuzzy Wide Ultra 3 where the transfer rate is 1280 MB per second. Sixth is Scuzzy Ultra 4 and the transfer rate is 2560 MB per second. And finally seventh, Scuzzy Ultra 5 is the faster one among the Scuzzy where the transfer rate is 5120 MB per second. Next, we will learn about Integrated Drive Electronics, IDE, connections. IDE connection, also known as Advanced Technology Attachment, ATA, connections are typically only internal, and they connect hard disks, CD-ROM drives, or other peripherals mounted inside the PC. With IDE controllers, you can install a combination of hard disks, CD-ROM drives, or other devices in your PC. The circuitry for IDE is typically much less expensive than Scuzzy, but comes with some limitations. For example, IDE requires time from the main processor chip, so, only one drive, if there are more than one, can be activated at a time. Next, is Universal Serial Bus, USB. USB started when the consortium of industry players including Compaq, Digital Equipment, IBM, Intel, Microsoft, NEC, and Northern Telecom was formed in 1995. They start to promoting USB as a standard for connecting devices to a computer. These devices are automatically recognized and installed without users needing to install special cards or without restart the computer when making the connection, also known as hot swapping. USB technology has improved in performance since it's been introduced, and it has become the connection method of choice for many peripheral devices such as cameras, keyboards, scanners and printers. USB uses a single cable to connect as many as 127 USB peripherals to a single PC. Hubs can be used to daisy chain many devices. Moreover, USB connections are now common on video game console, GPS locators, smartphone and much more. Here, I will tell the improvement of the USB since been introduced in 1995. USB 1.0, the transfer rate is 12 MB per second or 1.5 MB per second. Next is USB 2.0 where the transfer rate is 480 MB per second. And USB 3.0 transfer rate is 3200 MB per second. Nowadays, we have several types of USB which are micro USB, mini USB, USB Type-C for the latest technology. Okay, now we want to talk on Firewire Connection. Firewire was introduced by Apple in late 1980s, and in 1995 it became an industry standard, IEEE 1394, which is supporting high-bandwidth serial data transfer, particularly for digital video and mass storage. Like USB, the standard support hot swapping and plug and play, but it is faster, and while USB can be attached to only one computer at a time, Firewire can connect multiple computers and peripheral devices, peer-to-peer. Both OS X and Windows offer IEEE 1394 support. Because the standard has been endorsed by the Electronic Industries Alliance, EIA, and the Advanced Television System Committee, ATSC. It has become a common method for connecting and interconnecting professional digital video gear, from cameras to recorders and edit suites. Sony calls this standard iLink. Firewire has replaced parallel Scuzzy in many applications because it's cheaper and because it has a simpler adaptive cabling system. As additional information, you need to write down your own note about various Firewire transfer rate speed. First, Firewire 400, the speed is 400 MB per second. Second, Firewire 800 and the speed is 800 MB per second. Third, is Firewire 3200 and the transfer rate speed is 3144 MB per second. Alright students. We have a break for 5 minutes.
play benchmark numbers. So if you are going to put something together that's quite similar to this, you know your PC inside and out before it's even arrived at your house. How about that for service? Let's start by taking you through all of the components that we're using here today. And it begins with the motherboard. This is the ROG Strix B550-E Gaming. And this is a really good price to performance board if you need a few more features than you'll find on maybe something like an entry-level TUF. Things like Wi-Fi, really important if you don't have an Ethernet jack in your room where you're using your computer. And it does have USB BIOS flashback, so even if this is running an older BIOS, it's very easy to actually get this flashed and updated so that your system will work. Not so on a lot of cheaper motherboards. That's our base then, but we will of course need a chip, and the one that we're using here today is the Ryzen 9, and this is a 5000 series 5900X, so you can go a little bit higher end if you want 16 cores, but for a gaming PC there's pretty much no point getting this really unless you're doing anything else. In fact, I probably would have picked the Ryzen 7 5800X for this build, but ultimately I don't have that chip, so it's entirely up to you whether you want to go for 8 cores or the 12 that's actually inside this one. But at the end of the day, these are just fantastic processors. There's very little that they can't do. Thermals are good, performance is great, price is pretty decent as well, despite them being more expensive than the last generation. It's going to be very interesting to see what Intel can do, but at the time of filming at least, I would go for AMD if I was building my own gaming PC. Where things do get a little bit more interesting is with the graphics card, and this is the RX 6800 XT, and it's basically the alternative, if you like, to the RTX 3080. The version that we've got in front of us is the Asus TUF, and I absolutely love this one, not because it's necessarily the best or the brightest, but because in terms of price to performance, I think it absolutely nails all aspects. It's very quiet, it doesn't get too hot. Assuming you can get it at the RRP, it's actually for a very good price as well. And it looks pretty good. It doesn't rely on like overly bright lights or anything. It's just well built, it's solid, and I think it looks like it's quite expensive as well. Unlike me really, I think I'm just compensating with all of these computer components. Let's move on to the RAM. This is some Trident Z Neo, and we're using 32 gigs here. This is by no means needed for a gaming PC. 16 is pretty much the sweet spot, but I think it perfectly matches all of the components.
Are you fresh enough to continue? Let's continue. If you have any question to ask, you just simply pause this video and ask me. Okay class. Now I want to introduce to you other computer components. The discussion will start with the computer memory. Computer memory, also known as a primary storage. Budget constraint may interrupt the multimedia development process. You be able to continue the development of the multimedia project with minimum memory requirement, but you will frustrating to face memory shortage time after time when you're attempting to keep multiple applications and files open simultaneously. It is also frustrating to wait the extra seconds required of each editing step when working with multimedia material on a slow processor. We have two types of memories, which are random access memory, RAM, and read-only memory, ROM. RAM is volatile, means when you restart or turn off your computer without saving your work, you will lose all your work. While ROM is non-volatile, means the ROM behavior is opposite from the RAM behavior. High-speed processor will be useless and ineffective when the RAM installed in the computer is minimum spec to run the software. It will waste the processor cycles while it swaps needed portions of program code into and out of memory. In some cases, increasing available RAM may show more performance improvement on your system than upgrading the processor chip. Unlike RAM, ROM is typically used in computers to hold the small BIOS program that initially boots up the computer, and it is used in printers to hold built-in fonts. Erasable programmable ROMs, which is called as EPROMs, is allow changes to be made that are not forgotten when power is turned off. Next, we will learn about secondary storage. As you see on the slide, we have floppy disk, also called as a diskette. Diskette has been made from flexible mylar plastic coated with a thin layer of special magnetic material. It's not expensive, removable, and portable. But, nowadays floppy disk is not an option as a storage because of the limitation of the size. Default size of the diskette is 1.44 megabytes. Next, is hard drive disk, HDD, and also called as hard disk. You can see on the slide the type of the hard disk. The latest version of the hard disk is solid-state drive, SSD. Adequate storage space for your production environment can be provided by large-capacity hard disk, server-mounted on a network. As multimedia has reached consumer desktops, makers of hard disks have built smaller profile, large capacity, faster, and less expensive hard disks. As network and internet servers drive the demand for centralized data storage requiring 1 TB of storage, hard disks are often configured into fail-proof redundant arrays offering built-in protection against crashes. Other than diskette, we still have several removable and portable drives such as listed on the slide. However, all of the listed drives are hard to be found anymore. The limitation of the storage size is the main reason why the drives has not been used to deliver the multimedia project. Okay, now we will take a look on DVD, which stand for Digital Versatile Disc. DVDs has been agreed to be promoted by 9 major electronic companies, which are Toshiba, Sony, Matsushita, Philips, Time Warner, Pioneer, JVC, Hitachi, and Mitsubishi Electric for distribution of multimedia and feature-length movies. With a DVD capable not only of gigabyte storage capacity but also full motion video, MPEG-2, and high-quality audio and surround sound, this is an excellent medium for delivery of multimedia projects. Commercial multimedia projects will become more expensive to produce. However, as consumers' performance expectations rise, there are 3 types of DVD, including DVD read-write, DVD video, and DVD-ROM. These types reflect marketing channels, not the technology. Moreover, driven by the high-definition TV, HD TV, and by the motion picture industry, a new technology was needed to increase storage capacity and throughput beyond DVD. 2 competing and incompatible solutions were promoted and war was fought in the marketplace between HD DVD, backed by Toshiba, and Blu-ray disc, backed by Sony. By 2008, Toshiba had sold about 1 million HD DVD players, but Sony had sold close to 10 million Blu-ray players, which were also included in popular PlayStation game machines. Toshiba announced it was quitting. Blu-ray is promoted not only for HD TV recording and high-definition video distribution, but also for high-definition camcorder archiving, mass data storage, and digital asset management and professional storage when used as a recording medium in Blu-ray disc recordable, BDR, format. Next, is about CD-ROM. CD-ROM is stand for Compact Disc Read-Only Memory. CD-ROM players have become an integral part of the multimedia development workstation, and the discs that play in them are an important delivery vehicle for mass-produced projects. A wide variety of developer utilities, graphic backgrounds, stock photography, and sounds, and etc. CD-ROM players have typically been very slow to access and transmit data. There are several types of CDs in the market. We have CD recordable, CDR, CD read and write, CDRW, and CD audio. By default size of the CD is 700 megabytes. Next, we discuss on the thumb drives. Thumb drives, also known as a flash drives or flash memory or pen drives. The pen drives can integrated with USB or Firewire interfaces to store from a little as a few megabytes of data to as much as 2 terabytes of data. These devices are available in every color of the rainbow, are extremely portable, and, because they have fewer moving parts, are more reliable than disk drives. Consisting of a small printed circuit board encased in a sturdy metal or plastic casing with a USB connector covered with a cap, the flash drive is convenient to use. Without the USB connector, the flash drive is similar with solid-state drive, SSD, storage because there is no spinning platters or moving parts. Recently, there are great variety of input devices in the market, start from keyboard, mouse, touchscreen to voice recognition. I believe you are familiar with the devices listed in the slide. Moreover, there is image attached with the slide in order to make sure you know the physical or shape of the devices. First, we have keyboard as an input device. By default, everybody know the function of the keyboard used for typing purposes. Nowadays, many design of keyboard in the market. Next, we have mouse as input device. Mouse usually used for graphical user interface, GUI. Next, we have trackball. The trackball is suitable to small confined environments such as laptop. Additional info, typically the trackball used by the designer or architect. Other input devices as you can read on the slide. We have touch screen, magnetic card encoder and reader, graphic tablet, scanner, optical character recognition, OCR, infrared remote, voice recognition system, digital camera, barcode or QR code reader, and microphone. Next, is output devices. According to the slide there are several output devices have been listed. The first output device is speaker. Presenting a multimedia project with an audio is necessary to have a speaker in order to listen to the audio. In addition, it is also require an amplifier in order to balance the volume and control the noise from the audio. Furthermore, we also require a sound card in order to connect the computer with a speaker. Next, is video device. To display the multimedia project, we will require a graphic card attached with a computer motherboard. After that only we can connect our monitor or screen or projector to our graphic card to display the output. Other than monitor or TV, projector also known as display device. Normally, we use projector when we want to display the output to the large number of audiences. As stated in the slide, projector also have several types such as CRT, LCD DLP stand for digital light processing, and LCOs stand for liquid crystal on silicon where the LCOs projector is used grating light valve, GLV, technologies. Next, we have printer as output device. There are two types of printer, which are laser jet printer and bubble jet printer, which is also known as inkjet printer. Next, we will discuss on communication devices. First we have modem, where the word modem itself is a combination words of modulate and demodulate. The purpose of modem is to modulate and demodulate the analog signal to digital and digital to analog signal. Nowadays, it is very rare to find the internal modem. Most of people already use the external modem such as Wi-Fi modem. The latest technology is allow the connection through the fiber optic cable instead using the copper telephone line cable. Next, we have ISDN modem. ISDN is stand for Integrated Services Digital Network. Is unlike the normal home usage internet modem, ISDN is a high-speed modem and normally you can find it in the IT department at every huge organization like university. Next is cable modem, where nowadays you can find it on Astro, where Astro provide an internet connect through the television cable. Okay students. Finally we are here in the summary slide. As a summary, today you have learned about the computer hardware. Comparison of the Apple computer and Windows computer. Today you also learn about the computer components such as internal computer components, input devices, output devices, communication devices, and cable connection. If you still do not understand what I tried to deliver today, you can simply take a look to your computer and recognize every component attached to your computer. And if you still do not understand how the device or component work in your computer, you be able to search the component name in YouTube. And also you can try to search the history of the computer in order to understand how the computer work from a start. Do you have any question? Please throw your question during the discussion session. I think that's all for today. Thank you for your concentration.